The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 355, GFY with Bobby Drummond. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast, where we're here to help you build a stronger game because we believe everyone deserves to play better longer. This episode is a groundbreaking one. This is our first ever GFY, Go Forge Yourself episode with my good friend, Bobby Drummond. The Go Forge Yourself episodes are basically going to be us talking to people in the 18 Strong community that have been through the 40-Day Forge, our plan and program that is geared towards helping you improve and get stronger physically, mentally, both on the golf course and off the golf course. And so in this episode, we're sitting down with Bobby, who has an amazing story that started several years ago. His transformation from weight loss to stopping drinking to playing better golf, everything that he's done over the last several years has been incredible. And you're going to hear more about that in this episode. Bobby's one of my good friends, but he's also one of the better golfers that I play with on a regular basis. And so you're going to get an insight into what the experience was like, not just of the 40-Day Forge, but Bobby also did the 75 Hard program, the similarities and the differences in mindset that occurred throughout both of those challenges and through both of those programs. And hopefully you're going to get a glimpse into what the 40-Day Forge has done, not just for Bobby, but for other individuals in the 18 Strong community. So we're going to be doing a lot more of these episodes over the course of the next year. And hopefully we're going to continue to build out how many people are going through the Forge and making huge differences and changes in their lives, not just on the golf course, but really in every aspect of their life. I think it's really easy to have the experts and the professional golfers on our podcast and listen to their stories, but feel like that's a little out of touch for all of us normal people living regular lives, raising families, going to work every single day. And so I think that these episodes are really going to be very cool to see that transformation and hopefully help you realize that you're strong enough to do whatever it is you're looking to do, whatever goal you are choosing to set, that this is hopefully just some sort of inspiration to help you make that decision and make that commitment. And we'll get into that right after this. Our partners over at Linksole have been providing us with the best apparel for both on the course and off the course, from polos to t-shirts like the one I have on right now. Everything that they have is meant to be worn from the golf course to wherever you're going next, whether that be casual, whether that be to the beach. There's all different options over there. So go to 18strong.com/Linksole. You'll get 20% off of anything in your cart over on Linksole's website. So again, 18strong.com/Linksole for our favorite brand of apparel for anything on the golf course and off. Now let's get to this week's interview. Bobby Drummond.
Hello.
What's up, man? Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast.
Thanks, man.
So this is cool. This is going to be our very first ever GFY episode, Go Forge Yourself episode, talking about the 40-Day Forge. So we'll get into all of that. But first of all, we're just kind of bantering about your golf game. Sounds like you had a pretty good round. How's the game right now?
It's so it's funny. It's gone in waves.
Yeah.
This entire season, from like a winter of simulator golf, which was just hammering as hard as you could into the screen and see how far you could hit it, to getting out on the course, remembering what it was like to hit off the grass, shooting like 2 rounds in the 90s, to getting the game better, mental game better. Shot 2 rounds under par this year, couple even rounds out there as well, and it's good right now, but it goes in waves, as the golf game does.
Absolutely. So for those of you listening, watching, Bobby and I, we get a chance to play some golf together. Bobby was part of our mandatory Golf Friday, and is definitely one of the higher caliber golfers in that crew, I'd say. So
well, thank you.
Over the last couple of years, what's kind of the handicap been like? I mean, what is your handicap these days?
I know exactly. It's a 1.2 right now.
All right, 1.2. So over the last few years, have you been like steadily declining? What's the game been like the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I was about in 2020, and this may be something else you want to talk about, but whenever I stopped drinking back in 2020.
We'll talk about that for sure.
I figured we might, but in 2020 is when I really thought, okay, now that I have a clear mind, I can probably start focusing on some other stuff that I really do love, like golf. And I was probably about an 8 handicap or so.
Okay.
And got it down, joined Whitmore Country Club whenever the pandemic hit because there was nothing else to do. So I decided to spend my money on that, new clubs. I got fitted for clubs and stuff like that. And I just started working on my game. I got one lesson with one of the teaching pros at Whitmore. Shout out to Ray Farnell. He was awesome and changed like one tiny thing. And that changed my game like at that point. But then over the last couple of years, it's really been, my swing probably hasn't changed at all. But I focused on getting stronger, and the mental game's been the biggest thing. And honestly, this year, nothing except for the mental game, really. And a couple tiny things here and there. Like honestly, the tiniest little change in grip. Like where's my left thumb at? How strong is my grip? How weak is my grip? And that's been the biggest change. And then just my attitude on the course.
What did so I'm sure people want to know what did you and Ray, what was the one little thing that you and Ray worked on?
Sure.
Big deal.
So as Ray would say, it was my swing path because I can't do a good accent for Ray and his Australian ways, but that was it. I was taking the club a little bit too far inside in what felt like me taking the club straight back, felt like I was taking it super far out. That was the main change that we made. And other than that, just feeling like athletic over the ball. I played all sorts of sports growing up. Big ones being basketball, baseball, and then I still play a lot of volleyball. So just want to feel athletic whenever I'm doing anything, not feeling robotic or mechanical. And outside of the swing path and just a couple like little cues here and there, those have been the biggest things that I've changed.
Did you grow up playing golf? What was your like childhood golf experience like?
Sure. So I started playing golf at like 10 years old, and my grandma actually was the one who I played a lot of golf with. And not to discredit my dad, because I played a ton of golf with my dad too. I was actually a member at Hidden Valley whenever Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
Did you ever
also ski slopes here?
Also now only ski slopes.
Right.
No more golf there, but that was the hilliest course ever. I did a lot of my playing out there and in Florida. Whenever I say that like I live there, but every time we went on vacation there, I would play with my grandma and grew up watching Tiger Woods. So I think everyone who's around my age got into golf probably because of Tiger. They weren't getting into it because of Phil, let's be honest. Right. Even though Phil was great there for a while. But that's how I got into it, started playing a bunch. And grandma always said like she wouldn't play with me if I threw my clubs, because I've always ran a little bit on the hotter side. Which a lot of people have seen, just because I'm competitive and I protect my own. So that's kind of how I got my start into it, was playing golf at an early age with my grandma and just trying to, I played so much out of Hidden Valley. I almost never practice. I feel like playing is my practice.
Yeah. Did you play competitively or just for fun when you were a kid?
2 years in high school, freshman year, sophomore year at CBC, I played golf on those teams. Junior year, I literally had the shanks and I could not hit a ball to save my life. You still had to try out, so I decided not to try out that year, and that's actually when I found volleyball.
Okay.
And that's the only reason why I got into volleyball, because I had the shanks, and I still played like junior and senior year, but just for more for sport than anything else. And into college, I played with my buddies, but it was more drinking and partying, and if you played well, it was cool, but for the most part, it was just for the fun.
Right. Okay. So speaking of the drinking, the partying, so one of the reasons I wanted to have you on and really excited for you to be the first episode here is because I know a lot of your backstory. I don't know all of it, so we'll be able to dig into as much as you want to share.
Sure.
And the forge and just your whole transformation. So give me a little glimpse into, obviously this is going to be an episode kind of about your transformation. So kind of tell as much of the backstory as you want to. Yeah. And then maybe what was the catalyst of really making you kind of flip the switch and make some of these huge changes. Right.
So there's so many short versions and long versions of this, so I'll try to keep it kind of medium
in
short.
Between's good.
But I came from I went to school at Mizzou, and was like partying was always just something like it seemed like you did whenever you went to, especially at school like Mizzou. It's a fun time. And after I graduated, I just kind of continued to do the partying and having the fun. And I graduated, I lived in Soulard, which is like its own little island of a trap, honestly.
Right.
If you don't have discipline like me, up until recently, but then lived downtown and just always around all the action, always around all of the fun. So wanted to just continue to just throw myself into those fun situations. And I prioritized a lot of that over what should have been a lot more important to me. So I was a little bit blinded by that. I actually come from a family of some addicts. And so I didn't really think about any of that. I thought it was okay because I had a good job, and I did throughout that entire process. But it just got to a point where it was really bad. I didn't really see it. I was almost too close to even see it where it was. I mean, drinking at lunches, and I'll be completely transparent, like drinking and driving on the way home from work each day. And got to a point where it wasn't just the drinking, there were some drugs and stuff like that too, but I didn't even see myself go from someone who was like in shape and I worked really hard against my metabolism, let's say that.
Yeah, right.
And got up to about like 260, 270, somewhere around there. And I didn't even really notice it. And I always said, hey, I want to do this. I want to make this change. But the compound effect of just doing the same thing day in and day out, drinking, smoking pot, stuff like that, eating like shit, all just led to a point where I was really unhappy with myself, in which case I also found myself in a pretty like unhappy relationship. No ill will or anything like that as far as that goes, but I just was too close to see that I needed to make some changes. And then it all came to a head when me and my ex, we decided we were going to break up. We still were living together, and we were trying to figure out how to transition out of that. The 2 nights later on a Monday night, actually got just loaded and drove home. Should not have. Ironically, the last place that I ever had a drink was Bobby's place in Valley Park.
Yeah.
And I don't remember driving home, was in and out, was going. I just remember seeing the flash of me going over 100 miles per hour on the way home. So not cool, right? Obviously, something that should not do. I could have hurt myself. I could have hurt someone else. I could have ended up in jail. And next morning, ex kicked me out and said, hey, you got to leave. I left, and that day I knew that I needed to stop drinking for good. I had been told that multiple times by some people before, but it wasn't until that, just like with any addict, it doesn't matter what someone says to you, you have to want it. And in that moment, I knew that I had to make that change. So that was on a Tuesday morning, June 23rd, when I got kicked out of there in 2020. That afternoon, my coworker's son, I found out was pronounced brain dead. Over the weekend, I did not know this, but her son was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh my God. And
on Tuesday afternoon, she had to pull the plug on her son. And then fast forward to Thursday night, one of my best friends, Corey, actually was killed in a drunk driving accident.
Oh my gosh.
So from I knew I needed to stop to seeing someone affected by it, and I knew I needed to make a change then to what happened with my buddy Corey. I knew that I was making the right decision to stop. And I don't know if those things wouldn't have happened, if I still would have stayed strong and not drank. But that's when I knew I had to stop. And that's when I started my process that's when I started also my wellness journey, really.
Yeah.
And Kelly Baker, or Kelly Bugger now, she actually, so I trained with her there for a while, and I'm going through a lot of this, but I saw a post that she put up about walking like 10,000 steps a day. And this was a couple days after everything had happened with my buddy. And I was just like, I need to start walking. And so much of the weight that I gained was all inflammation and just stuff that I just needed to just go walk.
Totally.
Right. So I started doing that every single day. Started listening to a sobriety podcast called Sobercast, and this just literally recorded AA meetings. I never did any sort of formal like AA or anything like that. because it was COVID. There was no meetings to attend except for virtual ones. And I was, not that I couldn't do the virtual, but it just wasn't as intimate, and I didn't feel like it would make a big impact on me. So I would listen to this podcast that was just recorded AA meetings from anywhere from like the 50s to today. And I would find myself listening to these, going on these long walks, like literally in tears, like hearing other people tell these stories where I felt that exact same way. And I engrossed myself into not only walking and doing that, but then that's when I started my first round of 75 hard back in 2020. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened in order for me to get there.
So that first week, you know, and I didn't know the story about those two, your buddy Corey and your coworker's son. I mean, man, how crazy. So you start this journey, you're starting your walking, you're starting to listen to these things. What are you telling yourself at this time when you're on these walks, when you're not listening to these podcasts? You know, what are some of the things going through your head? And then I want you to even go into the 75 hard, because that's for the people that have listened to the episode about the Forge. 75 hard had a big impact on us creating the Forge the way that it is created. And you know, it was obviously a big catalyst for you and how you kind of continue to go forward.
Yeah. So as far as I like thoughts going through my head and stuff like that, I don't know. I couldn't sleep. And it wasn't so much like I didn't have any weird like withdrawals, where a lot of times when people come out of like if they're drinking a lot, stuff like that, a lot of times they have some issues and actually need medicine. Fortunately and unfortunately, it was mostly beer that I drank. So it wasn't like I was drinking a fifth of vodka. They would trust me. I drank more than enough beers for everyone in this gym right now, for a week's time, probably. But a lot of what was going through my head was just I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I would go on these long walks, anywhere from 2 miles to 10 miles. Just would walk until I just felt like I didn't want to walk anymore, because it was the middle of the pandemic. I had no work to come back to, and whenever I left my ex's place, I stayed with my parents. So I didn't really want to go back home. There's some shame in that, obviously, which there's not. At the end of the day, like, I treasure that time that I had with them, but it's not like a good feeling as a 30-year-old to go back and feel like you're stuck. Especially for someone who was doing great in their job, but obviously had some other issues. And then from like how I guess I started walking because I saw Kelly's post, and really wanted to get into just taking better care of myself. I knew I had some weight to lose, and that's when I already knew about 75 hard, because I would tell my ex, I said, hey, I think I want to do this challenge. And she would say, yeah, there's no way that you can do that. You'll never be able to stop drinking. So kind of like that Andy Frisella crabs in the bucket theory, like, oh no, you don't need to do that, because you'll never stop. And that's not her fault. That's me. But one of the things that I decided was, okay, I can do this now. I'm sober. That's the hardest thing that was on that list before, was the no alcohol for 75 days. And now I'm planning on making this a lifestyle change forever. So the next hardest thing on there was follow a diet plan. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that means to follow a diet plan. I'm like, what does that mean? No carbs? Like, what am I, just a rabbit for 75 days? So I hired Kelly as my a nutrition coach, and went through a whole assessment. And actually, I don't even know where those pictures are. I have to get those pictures. But at that point, I was already 35 pounds down just from walking. I lost a pound a day.
And not drinking.
Yes. That's a big part of it too. I was still eating like Jimmy John's and stuff, though. I tell you, I hadn't had the diet part figured out yet. But went to her, got that assessment, figured out what that looked like to follow a diet plan and make some good lifestyle changes. And I even read your what do you call those, like a daily newsletter, your emails that you sent out this morning, talking about like an 80 to 90% clean diet. That was today's, or was that yesterday's?
That was today's.
Yep, I read that this morning, and that's been a really big guideline for me since. But with 75 hard, all the water, following the diet plan, the 2 workouts a day, those were walks. I couldn't do anything else. I was too fat to run, so I walked. And that was the first time when I really understood like you have to walk before you run. And I'm like, oh, this makes sense because I literally
had to walk. Yeah.
And over the course of, I actually did 75 hard for 99 days. And the reason I did is because we started a separate bet with a group of buddies, and I did 75 hard for 99 days. And in those 99 days, I lost 70 pounds.
Wow.
But yeah, that was my journey, man. Just reading, and I had not picked up a book since Harry Potter in high school. And I know, there's so much knowledge out there with different books, podcasts, and all that. So jumping into some different books that are helping better me, along with the exercise, along with the eating better, and just building a routine. I mean, Andy Frisella changed my life forever.
Yeah.
And me and him don't always agree eye to eye on a lot of the things that he talks about. But as he can be a polarizing guy, but like, I don't like fully credit him because at the end of the day, I did it.
Totally.
But if it wasn't for that program, I don't know if I would have found everything that I found in my journey so far.
How difficult did you find it through those 99 days? Probably more so even at the very beginning, not drinking, and even the struggle of figuring out. And I know you had Kelly to help guide you, which I think is a huge thing, to have somebody that, if you don't know where you are, where to start or what to do, like find somebody that knows, find somebody that can help you.
Right.
How difficult was it for you to make those adjustments? Let's maybe first go with the alcohol piece.
Sure.
Because it's great to say like, okay, I'm going to stop drinking. And then, you go a month, and then you go 2 months. And like, is that something that kind of kept coming back to you? Or is it something where, you were like, nope, done, and I'm done for good?
So big believer in people made changes either out of inspiration or desperation, and I was desperate.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I was just inspired to make a change, I can't say that it would have stuck, but I know I saw what I did, the compound effect of it, and I was able to be self-aware in that moment to say, look at what you did, look at where your body looks, look at how you feel, look at the way you've been acting. And then I was able to look at, as far as just, I guess, from the alcohol standpoint, I knew what it had done to other people just recently. So I think it was one of those, it just like a switch flipped, and I was just like, okay, I'm done. It also helped that it was the middle of the pandemic, where there wasn't that pressure to go to the happy hours and stuff like that. Because I didn't live on the St. Charles side where COVID didn't happen. I lived on the side of the Missouri River where it did happen and everything was closed down. So there were no opportunities to go do stuff like that, which I think helped as well. But as far as just for anyone who's especially, I have so many friends since then because I shared my story very publicly out there on Facebook for people to follow throughout the process. And I had a lot of people reach out to me saying that they were interested in stopping, asking me about my story. And I've found a comfortability with, I could go to the most crowded, crazy bar right now, and I'd have no problem just going up and ordering a club soda with a lime and hanging out and having fun. That's probably not going to be my first choice of what I do, but I would be okay. But for a lot of people out there who are wondering, hey, how am I going to do this? I think, first thing you got to do is find an accountability partner on that, and almost declare, hey, I'm going to do this, even if it's for 30 days or for a week, or if someone wants to make a lifestyle change, it can be hard, but I never thought I would stop drinking. It's wild to me that I'm 3.5 years sober. Mm-hmm. Wild. But yeah.
That's amazing. And then what about the food stuff? Because the food piece, and these are two pieces that are in the Forge too. So this is talking to anybody that hasn't been through any kind of a program where you have to stick to this for a long period of time, whether that's drinking, the diet piece. But the food thing is one of those where, it's not going to cause harm to other people. It's, so there's a different mentality there, where sometimes, and I think I speak for most people listening, I know I speak for myself, sometimes you're just like, F it, man. I want that piece of cake or those chips or whatever. And so I would imagine it would be fairly easy to rationalize that, hey, I gave up drinking. I I can have this.
Yeah.
Did you go through a lot of that?
Dude, yes. I literally ate like half of a Ben & Jerry's pint last night. That's my biggest problem is the sweets. So it's really easy to then revert from something like alcohol to like honestly to any sort of sweet because it still gives you a little bit of that like
A little dopamine or whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. It's exciting. Who doesn't live chomping into half-baked Ben & Jerry's? I know I do. But so on the diet piece, I really like once I understood what like following a diet plan looked like and what to look for whenever I was shopping. And Kelly was an awesome accountability buddy for me where when I was grocery shopping, I would send her pictures of like the nutritional facts on there and just be like, is this okay? And she'll be like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, okay, good. But she gave me a really good outline of some things that would be good and some ways to kind of curb some of those cravings that I had, and then finding some substitutes for someone who does love sweets to substitute for like a higher percentage dark chocolate, or instead drink a protein smoothie or a fruit smoothie, and find some joy in some of those like other foods that are still really good and taste great. They're just never going to be Ben & Jerry's. So that was probably the biggest thing for me was just understanding what that looks like, because I think a lot of people's heads go straight to a diet is going to be something miserable where you're going to be starving all the time, where the way that she set it up for me with the goals that I had was I still had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I had like little snacks that I could have in between, whether those were almonds or a piece of fruit or something like that, to kind of curb some of those cravings throughout the day without feeling like you had to just completely stop eating.
Right. Where you could kind of actually like live a lifestyle around the food, not some depravity kind of diet where you're cutting everything out, like no carbs, eating lettuce, this.
Right. Yeah. Didn't have to do anything like that. I still got to enjoy a lot of really good foods.
So then when was it that you did the Forge? Because I know, and really that's how we kind of connected.
Yeah.
I mean, separately, you worked with Kelly, I worked with Kelly, but we didn't really know each other. We didn't really interact at that point. We kind of had said hello or whatever, but it wasn't until I believe that you reached out or we connected and you said, hey, I'm thinking about doing the Forge.
Yeah. So that would have been, I guess, December of 2022. Right before the Forge started in January.
Yes. Okay.
And I was actually in the middle of doing the whole Live Hard program, all the different phases of 75 Hard. And I just was thinking, okay, I want something else. I knew this year I wanted to have a lot of focus on golf. And even though I'm not playing to make any money except for some side bets, I'm uber competitive and I want to be as good as I possibly can be. So I figured with a good routine around a group, like community of some golfers, would be a cool group of people to hang around with. Plus, like golf is one of those, even though where you think you can play it as you get older and older, I still see people that can't go play golf, can't swing a golf club. And even though I was in good shape, my thought process was, I want another challenge. I'm very motivated by having like a finish line out there, as I think a lot of other people are too, but then also just wanted to be and feel as like part of a community with something, which was definitely captured with what you have going on with the Forge.
I want to take just a second to thank our new partner, which I'm really excited to announce, is First Form. First Form is a company that is here in St. Louis, based in St. Louis. It's a nutritional company that is doing incredible things in the world of nutrition. And one of the reasons that we decided to partner with First Form is obviously we're very impressed with their dedication to their products and the quality of the products. But really it's the dedication to them and them helping their customers get real results. Aside from just the products, we got a chance to go and actually visit the facility, again, here in St. Louis, and really walk the halls of the corporate offices. But we got to see the manufacturing plant or the warehouse. And it's not just a place where they're packaging supplements and shipping them out. It's a culture, it's a community, and you can see that amongst the employees. You can see that their culture and their core values that are not just pieces of art on their wall, they're actually living them there, and they're helping to expand those into the community. And really, that's why we partner with First Form. Obviously, their products are incredible. Otherwise, we wouldn't suggest them either. We use them on a regular basis. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about their products and what they can do for your fitness, what they can do for your golf game. The protein powders, the multivitamins, the protein sticks, the hydration packets, all of those products we're going to highlight in future episodes. But we just wanted to really celebrate our new partnership with First Form. You can go to their website, firstform.com/18strong. And we're going to be doing a giveaway every single month with anybody that buys through that link. So go to firstform.com, that's PHORM.com/18strong. That'll take you directly to their website, and you can check their whole suite of products. It's including some of their fitness apparel, and anything that is purchased over there, you're going to be enrolled into our list for our giveaway. A lot of people going into the Forge would balk at the drinking and the diet stuff, or those are kind of conceptually the biggest, hardest pieces for a lot of them. You had already tackled those to some degree. Obviously, the drinking for completely.
Right.
The diet, we can all go in waves with that. What were some of the biggest and different challenges for you with the Forge as opposed to the last year and a half of what you'd already gone through?
Sure. So there's some similarities in there, but also some big differences. That a lot of times with the water, I wasn't always good with drinking that right when I woke up. So 24 ounces, right? Is it 24 ounces right off the bat? I had found myself drinking like 34 just because I had a bottle that was that big. Mm-hmm. So I found myself chugging that first thing in the morning. The EFDs, I'm assuming I can cuss on this podcast.
Yes.
The every fucking days.
Yeah.
I literally did those this morning. I still do those all the time. That was just another routine to get into the swing of things. But the one thing with 75 hard versus the Forge 2 is you have just your one IPA, right? Mm-hmm. Your intentional physical activity. So where the 2 workouts with 75 hard, sometimes I felt like, okay, I can just do recovery day. I can go walk twice. And there's times where a walk like makes sense for recovery, especially if you went hard the day before. But I think it really allowed me to want to do something that was going to be a more impactful 40 minutes of my day rather than just going for a 40-minute walk where I could, we did our Sunday Smash sessions here. And then other than that, did some other good lifts and whatnot too, some other workouts. But those were a couple of the biggest things there. And then, having anything revolving around golf with the right-handed and the left-handed swings, love doing those. So it was one of those things where I wouldn't say I'd feel like kind of a jerk if I said it was easy for me. Yeah. But to an extent, I had done so much of that already, and I was coming off of like the last phase of, I think I was coming off of phase 1. So it just became a good part of a routine, especially at the beginning of the year. It's really easy to just say, that's when a lot of people want to make their changes, but they're not making them for 40 days.
Right.
They might be doing it for a couple of weeks, and diet's not always the cleanest. So I still think that no drinking and the diet's got to be the hardest thing for anybody coming into this, where, like you said, the drinking's easy for me. The diet's not easy. I just told you I had half a pint of Ben and Jerry's last night. Right. What I have for dinner. Now I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. I was focused on the Ben and Jerry's, but we had tacos. Yeah, and those were delicious. Yeah. And not a taco bowl. It was straight. We had the flour tortillas and all. But and that comes and goes in waves, and I think that's a big thing that I learned this year, where just recently, like I just joined EFA Empire here. What was it, like 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and up until that, this entire summer has been me from the time I finished phase 3 of the Live Hard program. That was June 5th to just a couple weeks ago, dude. All I did was play golf. That was it. So I got some cardio in and stuff like that, but I was in some volleyball a little bit here and there, but I wasn't lifting, and I realized how big of an impact that made on my body. So everything with life in general comes in seasons, right? Like you're gonna have up moments, you're gonna have down moments. You just gotta try and find that balance. If you ever feel like you're out of sorts, go back to what you need, and that's where the Forge is so perfect for that. Or getting committed to something for a set amount of time and seeing it all the way through.
What really rings out to me is that, it seems like every time you've finished something, 75 hard or one of the levels, you've kind of thrown yourself right back into something.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's by design. Has there been a stretch of time where you weren't doing some sort of program like the Forge or one of the levels of 75 hard or something where you're in the mix of moving towards a specific target?
It was just this past summer, right? It was from June to just a couple weeks ago, and I let myself go, man. I got the pictures of. I started taking pictures again every single day to see what I look like, and you know what I didn't even talk about was the cold showers. We can talk about that one for sure. But I love those now. But either way, so that was it. Like really up until this past June when I got done with the Live Hard program, I was like, okay, I've earned it. Like I'm just gonna do whatever I want for a little while. And dude, I let myself go a little bit. And I talked to Shelby, my fiance, about it too. And she knows how like important it is for me to like continue to move my body and stay in shape. And that's why joining here again has completely changed my mindset, where it's literally on my calendar, getting back into a routine and making sure that I'm doing the stuff that helps me not only feel better physically, but lifting weights and stuff like that. It helps me mentally as well.
What differences did you notice just specifically in your golf game? Maybe the way your body feels and everything too, but over the course of this summer when you weren't doing this stuff, you weren't getting in the gym, you weren't doing probably the EFDs quite as much, you weren't doing a lot of the physical stuff aside from going and playing golf and going to a lot of cool places. What did you notice?
So I felt like I did not recover quickly. So whenever I would go play, even though I'm relatively young, my lower back and my shoulder, they were brutal. My right shoulder still does hurt a little bit. I know we were talking about that a little bit, but I've been doing a lot of different exercises for that. Now with some resistance band training and some weight training as well. But going off of something like that and trying to still go do the physical stuff, you're leaving yourself more susceptible to get injured. Your recovery is not going to be as good. Like whenever you go, especially as guys, whenever we go lift weights or take cold showers, eat healthier, it's naturally boosting testosterone levels without having to feel like you need to start doing steroids. Right? Definitely like do the natural things that are going to help you get there, and getting back into this is always a huge help. So anyone who's stuck and not feeling their best there, and it's likely because they're just not moving their body enough. They don't need to take a pill. They don't need to take more Advil. Maybe some Advil every now and then, but probably just need to get back to lifting some weights and doing the stuff that makes you feel good.
Tell me about the cold showers.
Okay. I love cold showers now. Literally took one this morning. That was part of, obviously that's part of the Forge. I started those originally whenever, part of phase 1 is a 5-minute cold shower.
Okay. 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes. Yes. And during the winter, it's totally different. Cold shower during the summer.
Cold shower in St. Louis in the wintertime is
very different. Very different. So, taking those cold showers at first, it was one of those things that like I dreaded, and it was the thing that I was least excited about, but I would do it first thing in the morning. But now it's become part of every time I take a shower, I'll use hot water for all my normal stuff, and then I'll finish with at least 2 minutes of a cold shower now. But especially whenever you're doing the Forge, if you're starting on January 2nd and the cold weather here in St. Louis, those pipes are cold. And if you're truly doing a cold shower and you crank that to the lowest setting that it can be on without that shower being off, it's a pretty cold shower.
Yeah. And I found that, so many people are doing the cold plunges these days, which is, from a physiological standpoint, and from what I understand, is more beneficial science-wise. But there's something about the cold shower because it's constantly moving water, hitting some parts of your body, and you got to turn around. It's like every move you make is almost like, I don't really want to do this. But so for me, like just the mentality and the confidence of like doing that and overcoming those little challenges. I forget what Andrew Huberman calls it. I think he calls it like getting over the wall. Like there's something to be said for the physiological response of the cold shower, but there's also something about the different walls that you hurdle over that you don't want to climb over during that piece. And that's the thing that I have really, really noticed with cold showers. I want to talk about your mentality, speaking of confidence and everything. Now looking back, 3.5 years ago, where you were, where you are now, I mean, what does it feel like to know that you've accomplished what you've accomplished? Like when you look at a picture of yourself back then and you think of the things you were doing, how you looked, how you felt, like first of all, do you appreciate how much you've changed and how much you've done? And just speak to that a little bit for us.
Sure. So the first thing that I think of is I'm barely scratching the surface and I'm never satisfied, which is bad because I have gotten a lot better with practicing gratitude and being appreciative. I mean, there's even more that we haven't talked about with the Forge, with the meditation, visualization, stuff like that. I've been really big on that. So every once in a while, I'll find myself just like scrolling back through my Instagram to see these pictures of me like holding these cases of beer. Like I still have a video of me on Instagram chugging a bottle of Fireball. And I won't take it down. We'll have to pull it up. But I think I do appreciate how far I've come. I mean, it's the reason that I was able to meet Shelby and my now fiance, and we would have never been able to work. I would have never been fit for a relationship if it wasn't for me being where I'm at now. So I am very appreciative of that. It's also allowed me to build my relationship back with my family, which it's not that I didn't have one, but I didn't prioritize seeing them, where I called my dad in the middle of the day today just to catch up with him and see how he's doing, which I never would have done. So I have a lot of my priority. I believe I have a lot of my priorities pretty straight. And it's allowed me to build back those relationships with family and with friends, make new friends. That's one of the things I was worried about with not drinking was, am I going to be fun anymore? And it turns out I'm still a huge weirdo. And I can still excel in some social situations where I didn't know if I was going to be able to. So I guess I can look back and recognize how far I've come. I mean, whether it's golf game or just what I've been able to accomplish, just from a personal standpoint, I do feel great about that. But like I said, things come and go in seasons, and the one thing that I know is a constant is my no drinking. So the book, The One Thing, have you read that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So The One Thing, such that by doing it will make everything else easier or unnecessary. For me, my one thing, not drinking.
Yeah,
different for everyone, but that is something that I will hold true to for forever. And I've had people ask me, hey, do you think you'd ever like have a glass of wine or something like that? I'm like, I don't know if I want to find out what that looks like. But all I know is I'm enjoying myself more than I ever have. I used to hate being by myself because I was kind of alone with my thoughts. And now I really do treasure that time where, even though I am extroverted, and in these moments, people will probably be like, oh my gosh, that guy's got to be the life of the party. He's got to have so much fun. I love the time to myself. Like wind down at the end of the night, just put my phone on do not disturb, talk to no one. And I'm very comfortable now with myself.
Is that something that was a challenge for you?
Yeah, for sure. I always just sought out like the next thing rather than just being present, be where my feet are. And I think that was a big part of the problem too, was there were some insecurities there that why I drank a lot and did a lot of things that I did was because I just wasn't comfortable with who I was. What,
if any, goals do you have, kind of even just moving through, let's say, the wintertime, the off season, or just kind of in general with the whole trajectory that you've had? You know, you said you're barely scratching the surface, which I just read a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't read this book yet. I read the other book that he was talking about on the podcast. He was on Ed Milet's show. He was on our buddy Sean Stevenson's show recently. And the book is called The Gap in the Game.
Okay.
Have you heard of this at all?
I feel like I have heard of it.
So it's just fascinating to me because it reframed the way that I ever really thought about, setting goals, looking at goals, how we kind of grade ourselves on our goals. And it talks about most of us look at the gap from between where we are to the ideal person that we want to be. So like at the beginning of the Forge, we tell people where do you want to be at the end of your 40 days, right? And what does that look like? Who's the person that you want to become? The whole identity thing. Well, the problem with being in the gap is that you're always looking from the standpoint of where you are. And so even on the 40th day, and I want to ask you about, your 70 or your 99th day and your 40th day, when you get there, and I do this myself, typically we will say, okay, cool, I'm here, but I want to be there. And instead of celebrating, the gain is what it is, looking back and saying, holy shit, look where I was.
Right.
Look where I was 3.5 years ago. But I want to be there and not taking that time to just be like, shit, man, I did some cool ass stuff.
Yeah. That's a tough thing because there's two different ways people can go with that. They either they're never satisfied.
Right.
Or it's the back to Ed, the thermostat theory of, okay, I got here. I got the thermostat set up to 80 degrees. I got this thing cooking right now. But 72 is where I'm comfortable, right? So I feel like I've gone the other direction where if there's a challenge in place, it's one, I guess, linear type thing, then I'm good. But once something ends and once I have something set up to start, I feel like I am one who tends to fall back into some of the bad habits. So for me, I wish I had that problem, except Shelby might not want me to have that as much because she's like, hey, you don't need to be working out 8 hours a day. But, and it's obviously not that much, but it can feel like that whenever you're gone for 2 hour workouts a day. But no, I think that's not something that I've really thought about where my next journey is going to be. I think for me, biggest thing is developing the better habits, getting back into the gym here consistently. Like your email said today, 80 to 90%. If you're at 80 to 90% of your diet on a weekly basis and you're doing the lifting, you're moving your body, you're doing the stretching and taking care of yourself, I think that, I'll get where I want to go if I build that consistency. Where my problem before was I work out hard for 2 months or 3 months even. And the next thing I know, it was okay, I gave myself a 3-week break and I lost so much of what I worked so hard to get back to. So biggest goal for me is just developing that consistency and with a goal of where I want to go being, I want to be stronger. How obviously I want to look better. It doesn't hurt to look in the mirror and be like, sup, you look good today. Especially looks great after a cold shower too. And then, golf game. Shoot, man, I had 2 rounds under par this year. 2 rounds went over, 2 rounds at even par. And my goal next year is to shoot 10 plus rounds under par. And I know that I can do that from a mental standpoint. There's a lot that goes into that, not only on the course, but off the course. But from there, it's what am I doing to make sure that I can play a full 18 holes and my body can be there through all of it and my mental game can be there through it all too. Plus I also got a wedding to look awesome for.
That's right.
Not that my shirt will be coming off at the wedding as far as we know, but
don't drink that wine.
No, I think I'll be good on that. And I don't need any grape juice to make it feel like I'm cool or anything like that. But yeah.
So what would you say was the effect on your, you talked about how shooting under par is going to be, and to get to your goal of 10 rounds or whatever that is for next year, that's a big mental game part, right? So how do you feel like your journey has really impacted mentally the way that you approach the game of golf? I was there one day when you were about to shoot your lowest round ever, and I saw a little bit of a mental breakdown.
Was that 2 under with 3 to go?
2 under, 3 to go, and
I went
a couple bad decisions, and
even they went par, bogey, double bogey.
Yeah,
to shoot 1 over.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
But
nice.
Let's wipe that one out of there. But
no, maybe stronger.
Honestly, what have you noticed when you're obviously thinking clearer. You're not drinking. You're eating better. But even just the tasks that you've completed, the things you've done, how has that impacted the way you've approached the game of golf, the way that you approach, mentally out there?
Right.
If it does.
It does. I mean, if you feel better, that always helps. I remember going out and playing golf whenever I was hungover or like not completely hydrated, didn't have a routine before. So I think routine to me is everything. And I know one of the rapid fire questions kind of goes into this, but I'll speak to it a little bit now. But like having like your free throw, right? Like a basketball player is going to have the same free throw, I guess approach every single time they go do it. I remember Rip Hamilton, and was one of my favorite players, and he would dribble twice in front of him, once to the side, and then went up and shot his free throw. There's players that throw it like, I think Giannis goes behind his back and does something weird twice. I can't remember, but everyone has their thing. Now in basketball, outside of a free throw, you don't have time to do that. In golf, like I saw some sort of statistic on this that if you break down golf in like the moment that you're actually hitting a ball, it comes out to like 80 seconds.
Yeah.
Like there's 80 seconds of moments that happen in an 18-hole round of golf that is going to impact your entire round. So it's all about the approach into it, the thoughts afterwards. So I think just from a sobriety standpoint, like that makes very clear, like just going into the day, obviously. I was listening to was watching this YouTube video earlier with Shane Lowry, and he's talking about, Shane Lowry looks like a guy that is just drinking pints,
yes,
like left and right, like all day. He talks about how whenever he's in the tournament, he doesn't have a single beer, has a single drink. He's laser focused in on that week. And I think the clarity is one piece of it, but then, feeling good, doing the stretches, knowing that you're getting your body warmed up in the right way. And then from there, like you still don't know what's going to happen in a round of golf. You can still mess up. I mean, shoot, for the 73 that I shot yesterday, over the weekend, I shot an 85, right? Like there's a give and take to the game. So you can only do so much. And then from there, you just got to let the golf gods handle it from there.
Has it played into how you react to those things? You said you can run a little hot.
Yeah. I still get pissed.
Yeah.
I can still get pissed, but that's a big part of it too, is recognizing that then the only thing that matters is the next shot. It's not the next hole. And a big part of what I've done is given myself, I'll say to myself, like first round that I shot under par this year, I kept on giving myself permission to go low. Part of that is like the visualization of like, and I can talk about that a little bit too, but just like almost manifesting that was going to happen and telling myself that I am a great golfer and I have the capability. I'm going to shoot under par this year. And I was doing that. And I told my buddies, you can ask a lot of my buddies, I told them I'm going to shoot under par this year. Up until then, my best round ever was 2 over par.
Yeah.
I'd never even shot even. Or 1 over at that point, and I just kept on giving myself permission to go low, permission to make birdies, permission to hit great shots. And my only focus during the round of golf is that specific shot. Not, oh gosh, I got the next hole, I need to birdie that next par 5. It's, I need to recover here, I need to get up and down from the sand, or I just need to hit this sand shot somewhere on the green to give me a chance. And almost playing the game of like, where's my miss? Like knowing that I can't short side myself over there, or else I'm leaving myself with almost an impossible chip. If I'm gonna miss, I gotta miss right where I can play a nice bump and run up there. So there's so much that goes into it, and I'm not like the best golfer in the world, but I feel like I'm trending that direction where I'm very capable of playing some excellent rounds of golf, which can be a lot of fun.
Well, what I think is really cool about being able to bring you on in some of the future episodes we do is, like you're a guy that has a job. You're a guy that is doing what most of the people listening to this podcast are doing. You're trying to go from an 8 down to a 1, right? Or from a 15 to a 9, or whatever your level of golf you're at. You've been able to do that, and it's been through a lot of hard work. It's been through a lot of dedication. What would you say has been like the biggest gratifying piece golf-wise from this whole journey? Obviously getting down to a 1 is cool, but is there anything else, any other piece that you would say is kind of like the crown of the crown?
Like from just like a results standpoint, what was the moment?
Yeah.
My first round under par was the coolest thing ever, man. I was playing out of Sand Valley at Mammoth Dunes, and the day before, me and the injured played Aaron Hills.
Oh yeah.
And I shot a 92. We played from the tips there, which is stupid.
That's
It was
ridiculous.
7,800 yards.
Yeah.
Like Brooks Koepka, like the fact that he shot like 18, 17 under at the U.S. Open there back in 17 is stupid.
Ridiculous.
But so I shoot a 92 the day before, and going out to play the next morning on Mammoth Dunes, and had a caddy that day. And it was actually a caddy that we had before, because we made 2 trips to Seam Valley this year. We made one in April and then one in July, so we could go play the Lido whenever that opened. And playing out at Mammoth Dunes, I had I know that I was playing great like all throughout the entire day. I got to 3 under with 3 holes to go, and I kept on telling myself, giving myself permission to go low. One of the things that shout out to Trenton Jensen, he's actually not even on Instagram, so if he gets to see this, I'll have to send it to him. But he kept on saying throughout the round, he's like, PMA, positive mental attitude. He's like, you get next shot, baby, be a goldfish. And I just took that to heart and just was so laser focused on what I was doing. 3 under, 3 holes to go. I got to 3 under by eagling 15 out there at Mammoth Dunes, and then I went bogey, and I hit my my drive on 18 into the fairway bunker on the right there with super high lip. I had to hit a pitching wedge out of it, and I still have like 230 in.
Oof.
Into the wind. I hit a 3-wood over the green, which there was a bunker right behind it. So I have to get up and down now to shoot under par for my first round ever. I hit a shot to 5 feet, and I have probably like a 4-inch slider left to right, and busted in there for 1 under par. And that was, to me, beating the course and that course beat me up that day. Like, there's no doubt, but I outplayed the course that day, and I think shooting under par to me has always been such a big deal, because it means that I beat the course that I set out to go play. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the most satisfying moment. I've had a few other great moments throughout the year of playing, but that was the biggest. It was I broke the seal, right? It was all right, it's finally happened. Now it can happen again. And then since then, 2 rounds even par, another round 1 under par, and I shoot like a 73 yesterday at Meadowbrook. I'll take that all day. So from there, now my next part of the journey is now I need to shoot a couple under par, because the next step is 60s, right? Get around in the 60s. So 69 or better is the next target for me.
Like Mammoth Dunes was the 4-minute mile, broke that.
Yes.
Allowed you to kind of start breaking it down a little
And now
bit
my
more.
thought is like, I need to go out and beat as many courses as I can.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
yeah.
All right, man, we're going to finish up with our traditional questions
Sweet.
here on the 18 Strong Podcast. Looks like you're coming in hot and prepared.
I have a couple of them that I wanted to make sure I had written down so I didn't forget.
All right, so first and foremost, Kenny Shack or Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, so it's a toss-up, but I think I got to go Happy Gilmore. It's a classic. I just watched it recently, too, so I feel like I'm a little recency bias.
I haven't seen it in a little while. I think it's about time for me to introduce my son, Sam, to Caddyshack.
Heck yeah.
We'll get that.
He'll love the pool scene.
Yes, he will. Let's give it off. I'll go out and get something from the kitchen.
Yep, there you go. Probably a good call.
All right, walk-up song. What's your walk-up song to the first tee?
So I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan.
That's right, yes. Tell him how big of a Dave Matthews fan.
What's funny is there's people that are much bigger fans than me just based on shows they've seen, but I've seen 81 Dave Matthews shows now. So I travel all over to go see him, and they're one of my favorites. And it was hard for me to pick a walk-up song because I love so much different kind of music, and a lot of people think that that's the only band I listen to. But I would have to go Warehouse by Dave Matthews.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there a book that you've read that has meant a lot to you, or something that you've given to people as gifts, or something that you love to recommend?
Yep. So every person who joins my sales team actually gets the book Relentless Solution Focus. So written by Dr. Jason Selk. He's actually local to St. Louis. Mm-hmm. Do you know him?
I want to get him on the show, actually.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
Well, I can make an intro. Okay. Him and Ellen Reed.
Yeah. I have had Ellen on the show.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet. So they tell a lot of the same story, right? But they have different versions of it. And I've read that book now all the way through probably 4 or 5 times. And every person on my team gets that book. And the whole premise of that book is it's kind of similar to the one thing where you find okay, what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it will make everything else easier or unnecessary. But relentless solution focus is a lot more looking at like what Jason calls the mental chalkboard. So you have the problem side and the solution side. And a lot of times people will try to do one thing to make something better and it doesn't work and they never go back to the problem side, knowing that there's still an issue. So it's all about being relentless in your pursuit to continue to ask yourself, what's one thing that I can do to make this better, no matter what the situation is, personal, professional, mental, emotional, physical, no matter what it might be. And the whole premise of the book is that you're a happier person. And I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, so maybe I shouldn't be going into this detail.
Man.
But the whole premise of the book is that there's the nasty six negative emotions, which are fear, anger, stress, anxiety, and depression. And oh wait, that's five. Fear, stress, anxiety, guilt, depression, and something else. We'll figure it out later. But those different types of feelings cause your brain to release cortisol, which is that fear-inducing chemical that causes you to perform poorly and behave irrationally. Where people that are solution-focused, and that'll actually release dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. So to me, that's okay. Like, instead of just saying I don't know to something or just giving up or complaining about something, instead, if you're trying to move yourself forward and find solutions to a given problem, you're going to be a happier person as you look for those solutions that happen. So big thing for me, especially on a team that sells insurance, if I have happier people working for me, I believe that happier people are going to sell more insurance, which is always good. Yeah. But I also that book completely changed my life. And it's a big part of why I really do feel like I was able to shoot under par this year, is because a lot of the visualization and the mental workouts that Jason Selk has throughout there. So I would absolutely 100% recommend anyone read that book.
And what was the name again?
Relentless Solution Focus.
All right.
Yep. Awesome. St. Louis guy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Who would be your dream foursome?
Yes.
You got to pick anybody, anytime, any place. Who are the people you're taking on this foursome?
So these are all goats, by the way, just so you know. Tiger.
Yeah.
Obviously, I got to go play with Tiger, even though he's got one leg. The GOAT, Michael Jordan, because gambling with that guy has got to be just an absolute trip. And then my personal, I don't even know if Dave Matthews golfs, but I want him in that golf cart with me.
Right.
And he's the GOAT of the music scene for me.
Can you imagine Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and their banter and batting on the golf course?
It'd be amazing.
That would be,
and I'd love to be a part of that. That was a hard one to come up with, because I feel like there's so many people that I would love to play with, but I feel like that would be my dream foursome for sure.
All right, bucket list course. If we could fuel up the 18 strong jet, we're taking you anywhere. I feel like there's a lot of people that say Augusta and St. Andrews.
God damn it!
And so I'm gonna make this rule now.
Yeah.
So from here on out, it's like Wheel of Fortune. RSTLNE, you can't take it. We already give you those.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm throwing you a little curveball.
Yeah.
But if you have a real reason why,
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is I literally those are the only two that I wrote down was Augusta and the Old Course. So I'm Scottish. My family, we trace our family heritage back there. So that's definitely a huge one. But if I had to pick, because I don't know, it feels like, you can't get everywhere, obviously. Like, you want to go somewhere where no one else can play, which is why Augusta is obviously such a huge draw. But if we were to go somewhere right now, I'd say, and it's got to be somewhere I haven't played, right?
Yes.
I'm supposed to play there this next year, but I'd say let's go to Bandon Dunes.
Yeah. I haven't been there yet, but everything says that's where you gotta go.
Or maybe like a Cypress. I don't know. See if I would have had a little bit more time.
That's all right.
I'll have to let you know later.
So if of the places you've played, where would you say I want to go there again today?
Sand Valley.
Yeah.
Sand Valley was super special. And it was special before I shot one under par at that course there, but it's such a cool, you stay on resort there, and I'm sure Bandon's pretty similar to this, as a lot of resort golf courses can be, but the people there were incredible. The caddies, the food, the experience. You walk every single round of golf, and you're playing golf the way it was meant to be played, which is walk 18 holes.
Right. All right. I think you alluded to this earlier.
Yep.
Best piece of golf advice that you've ever been given.
Yep. So the create your own kind of free throw routine. if you're anyone who's ever played with me, if they might start paying attention to it now, but I do the same thing before every single shot. Same different club twirls, same way I line up my shot, my footwork is the exact same thing. I have the same kind of approach every single thing that I do. My kind of like the hitch in my giddy up is what I do to get comfortable over a ball. And a lot of it too, between creating a free throw routine, a lot of it is like been just the trigger and go. So once you have like a good routine that's consistent, and don't stray from that. Even if you have a bug fly in your ball, something messes you up, don't feel like you have to rush back into that shot. Create the whole routine over all the way through. And you might have different routines for driver to irons to bunker to putter, but be consistent in whatever that is, and you'll find yourself being more comfortable over your golf ball.
That's great advice. All right, is there one social media or is there an account on social media? Is there an account on social media that you think the 18 Strong crew should follow? Somebody, it doesn't have to be golf, doesn't have to be fitness, it could just be somebody cool, mindset, or anything.
So I had two for this, but I'll start with one because he's a St. Louis guy. The Par Train.
Evan.
Evan's an awesome follow. And I actually won a putter from them this past year. I don't know if I told you that.
No.
I won a Meridian putter from them on there, and then we went back and forth, and we're talking a little bit after I told him my address was a St. Louis one, and then I actually played golf with one of his like high school buddies not too long ago with Corey.
Okay.
So the Par Train is great. I've listened to a lot of their podcasts, a lot around the mental game, and I think so many of my buddies that I go play with, and actually back to Jason Selk and Relentless Solution Focus, he talks so much about the way you talk to yourself, like you'll start to believe that. So if you tell yourself that you suck on the course, if you tell yourself you're terrible, that you're going to hook this drive, that you're going to slice it, whatever it might be, like you're just manifesting it. And if you say it enough, you'll end up believing yourself. So I think the Par Train talks a lot about that.
Yeah, awesome. You had another one.
No Laying Up. Those guys are just awesome. Their YouTube channel, I love their YouTube channel. They create a lot of really good content. But those are both great follows.
Awesome. Well, brother, I can't thank you enough for coming on. One last question would be, so anybody that is out there looking to make changes, and this is about the Forge and not about the Forge, somebody that's maybe on the fence of doing something like that.
Sure.
What would you say to them if they're kind of toiling? I think indecision is one of the biggest things that we have regarding making commitment, making a change and not making a change. What would you say to that person that's kind of on the fence, or they're thinking about doing something like the Forge?
Yeah. Just to pull a Band-Aid off and do it. A lot of times I've talked to a guy here recently that is like, man, I'm just preparing myself to go do 75 hard. And I'm like, just do it. What are you waiting for? But I get it because I hired a nutrition coach, and sometimes you got to get yourself right mentally. But not only you have to make the decision. If you don't want to do it, then you're never going to do it. So you have to really know that you want it. And then from there, you have to employ some like your support system on that. So whether that's a spouse, a significant other, a friend that you're doing that with every single day, if you don't have someone that's kind of there by your side through it, it's going to be tough. And that's where like the Forge serves that purpose. And there's a community of people right here in St. Louis that we're getting together on Sundays and sharing posts about it on the Forge community page on Facebook. So you just got to find your community, and that's where I know I mentioned it before, and it seems kind of silly because I know a lot of people, but I mean, what the 18 Strong community's done for me is helped me so much this year, where I've gotten to meet so many cool people, yourself included, obviously, and it just kind of gives you a sense of belonging. And if you don't have something like that right now, they need to come up here and meet you first and foremost, and then do a mandatory golf Friday or start the Forge and talk with someone about it.
Awesome. All right, man.
Cool.
Can't thank you enough for sharing your whole story and everything, and we'll be seeing each other on the links for sure.
Awesome, man. Cool.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast. Don't forget to go follow us over on Instagram at 18 Strong. And if you found this episode helpful and want to help us spread the 18 Strong mission, we'd really appreciate it if you shared with your friends. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.